Hey, you ever have one of those moments where you're in a conversation and you realize you're talking about something as if it's completely normal, and then you just stop and you think, wait, how did we get here? That happened to me last week. I was having coffee with a friend, an architect, and we were discussing sustainable building materials, and out of nowhere he says, of course, it's a completely different vibe from the bone-lined catacombs of Palermo. And I just paused, my coffee cup halfway to my mouth. Because he was right. It is a completely different vibe. And it got me thinking about that place, and more importantly, about the profound, intimate, and frankly unsettling relationship those people had with the dead. It's a story that's been echoing in my mind ever since. Hey, welcome back. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Echoes of the Ancients. Today, we're going to a sun-drenched island, into the cool, quiet depths beneath a monastery, to a place where death wasn't an end, but a change of address. This is Episode 9, The Bone Courts of Palermo, Speaking with the Dead. Let's set the scene. It's the 16th century in Palermo, Sicily, a bustling, vibrant Mediterranean port city. And like any major city, it had a problem: space. Specifically, burial space. The city's cemeteries were overflowing. But for the Capuchin monks at their monastery just outside the city walls, this practical problem met with a deep, theological idea. They believed in the resurrection of the body. To them, the body was a temple, even in death. It wasn't just something to be buried and forgotten. It was to be preserved, respected, and kept present within the community of the faithful. So, they did something extraordinary. They began to carefully excavate the remains from the overcrowded cemetery and transfer them into the crypts beneath their monastery. But they didn't just stack skulls in a corner. They arranged them. They curated them. They created what they called the Catacomb dei Capuchini, and it was never meant to be a tourist attraction. It was a sacred, silent dormitory for the dead, awaiting the final trumpet. But then, something shifted. A tradition began. When a monk died, he was laid in a special cell, a colatoio, where the arid conditions would slowly desiccate the body. After about a year, the now mummified remains would be washed with vinegar, dressed once more in his monastic robes, and then he would be taken to his permanent place in the catacombs. Often, he was placed standing up, anchored to the wall, among his brothers. It was the ultimate act of community, remaining with your order, literally standing shoulder to shoulder in prayerful vigil, forever. This practice was, for the monks, the highest honor. It was a statement: you are still one of us. You are still here. Now, this is where the story takes a turn from a monastic practice to a full-blown cultural phenomenon. The wealthy, secular citizens of Palermo got wind of this, and they saw not just piety, but prestige. In a society where status was everything, even death could be an opportunity for display. They wanted in. They began to donate large sums to the monastery, requesting the privilege of being preserved in the Capuchin catacombs. And the monks, perhaps pragmatically, agreed. So, starting in the 18th and 19th centuries, the catacombs transformed. They became a sprawling, silent city of the dead, meticulously organized by class, profession, and gender. There was a corridor for priests, one for professionals, doctors, lawyers, professors, all standing together in their finest frock coats. There was a section for women, a corridor for virgins, and one for children. Walking through these corridors, as I did a few years ago, is an experience that defies simple description. It's not horror, not exactly. It's intimacy of a scale and type you are never prepared for. You are not looking at skeletons, anonymous and archetypal. You are looking at individuals. The mummification process preserved their faces, their clothing, the style of their hair. You see a little girl in a faded lace dress, a ribbon in her hair. You see a soldier, his uniform still bearing faint echoes of color. Two brothers, side by side. A lawyer, his posture still proud. Their names are often still on plaques. You are meeting them, and that was the entire point. Families would visit. They would come down into the catacombs on the anniversary of a death to stand before their preserved mother, father, or child. They would update them on family gossip, pray with them, ask for their intercession. The dead remained part of the social and spiritual fabric of the living. They were, in the most literal sense, consulted. This was the bone court, a place where the living stood in judgment of their own mortality, and the dead stood as witnesses to the lives that continued. And this is what stays with me. We, in our modern world, especially here in my fast-paced New York life, we've professionalized death. We outsource it. It happens in sterile rooms, and the body is quickly taken away, prepared behind closed doors, and presented in a casket for a brief viewing before permanent interment. We are taught, subtly, that death is something to be managed, hidden, and moved on from. But in Palermo, they rejected that. They forced themselves to look, to touch, metaphorically, to keep the physical reality of the person present. That's a radical act of memory. It says, this was a person. They laughed with this mouth. They saw with these eyes. They are gone, but we will not let their form vanish from our world. Of course, there's a dark irony here. In trying to cheat the decay of the grave, they created a different kind of monument. The vanity of the wealthy patrons is frozen on those walls just as much as their bodies. You can see the last fashions they ever wore, the careful curls of hair, the postures they chose for eternity. They sought to preserve their status, but time makes equals of us all in the end. The silk fades, the skin leathers. The proud lawyer and the humble monk are united in a silence deeper than any social distinction. The catacombs, intended as a testament to eternal life, became an even more powerful testament to time itself. So what do we do with this echo? For me, the takeaway isn't about the macabre spectacle. It's about conversation. The people of old Palermo maintained a conversation with their dead that was visual, tangible, and unbroken. We've largely lost that physical vocabulary, but we still have the conversation, don't we? We tell stories about those we've lost. We visit graves, not to see them, but to speak to them. We wonder what they'd think of our lives, our choices. We ask for their guidance, even if we believe it's just us talking to our own hearts. The bone courts of Palermo are just an extreme, physical manifestation of a universal human need to refuse the absolute silence of death, to keep the dialogue alive, even when only one side can speak aloud. The next time you find yourself talking to a memory, telling a story about a grandparent or a friend who's gone, remember the silent citizens in those cool Sicilian corridors. You're participating in the same ancient, human ritual. You're honoring them not with linen and vinegar, but with the most powerful preservative we have, our attention. You are, in your own way, standing in their court and letting them speak. Thank you for listening to this episode of Echoes of the Ancients. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who appreciates the deeper threads of our history. For more stories that connect our present to a fascinating past, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This is a production of Light Knot Studios. You can find more of our work and explore the threads of other stories at https://www.lightknotstudios.com. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi. Until next time, keep listening for the echoes.